Welcome to Stoic Station. There comes a moment after the breakup when the silence doesn't just surround you, it becomes you. You're left in the stillness, searching for answers, wondering what she's feeling, now that you've disappeared. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about what your ex is feeling during no contact. But more than that, I want to help you understand something deeper. Why the emotional path she's walking might look one way on the outside, but feel completely different on the inside. Because this isn't just about her. It's about you. Reclaiming what the breakup tried to steal. Your clarity, your dignity, your center. So if you're ready to stop seeing through the lens of fear and start seeing through the calm, grounded strength of awareness, take a second, subscribe to Stoic Station, and if this message speaks to something inside you, drop a like. It helps this reach others who need it too. Let's begin. 1. The first stage, relief. Right after the breakup, something happens that doesn't make sense at first, and it doesn't feel fair. One of you is shattered, the other feels free. You're the one lying awake, staring at the ceiling, retracing every conversation, wondering if you said too much, not enough, or just the wrong thing entirely. You're scrolling through photos you didn't even know you still had saved. You hear a song, and it pulls you back into a memory you wish you could delete. You're hurting. And yet, she's out with friends, smiling on social media, posting photos from brunch like nothing ever happened. She might even send a message like, "I hope you're doing okay," or "This isn't easy for me either." But her face says otherwise. She seems light, calm, unburdened. That contrast cuts deep, because she's in what we call the relief stage. It's not that she didn't care about you, or that none of it mattered to her, but she's the one who made the decision. She saw this coming. She emotionally prepped for weeks, maybe months. She didn't just hit the brakes, she had been slowly letting go while you were still trying to hold on. So now you're stuck with this crushing question: how is she okay while I feel like I'm falling apart? It's an emotional mismatch, and it stings. But it also causes something deeper, a sense of panic. You're not just hurting, you feel powerless. You want to fix it, to explain things, to get another chance, but no matter what you say or do, you can't change her mind. That's when something terrifying settles in. You realize you're no longer in control. Imagine this: you're standing in front of a locked door. On the other side is the person you love, and you can hear her talking, laughing, living without you. You knock, you plead, you try every key you've got. Nothing works. And eventually, it hits you. You're not the one who gets to decide anymore. And that's when you fall into the emotional trap that so many men don't even recognize until it's too late. It's like being ruled by a dictator. One person makes the decisions. One person controls what's allowed and what's not. And the only thing left for you to do is wait or beg. You didn't intend to hand over your dignity. You didn't want to be the one checking your phone every hour or reading old texts like they hold the answer to your pain. But when you let your self-worth hinge on someone else's decision, you give them that power. The breakup didn't just end the relationship, it stripped you of the sense that you get a say in what happens next. And this is where many men make their biggest mistake. They try to do something. They write long messages, hoping the right words will reverse the damage. They call late at night, thinking if she just hears the pain in your voice, it'll change her mind. They show up with flowers, apologies, promises. But here's the hard truth. None of that restores power. It just reinforces the dynamic that she's the one in control and you're the one chasing. So what do you do instead? You stop chasing. This is why the no contact rule isn't about games. It's about grounding. It's about reclaiming the only thing that hasn't been taken from you, your response. You can't make her feel what you want her to feel, but you can stop giving her more of your emotional energy to manage. You can start giving it back to yourself. Sometimes people hear no contact and think it means doing nothing, but that's not true. Choosing silence when everything in your body is screaming to reach out, that's not passive. That's restraint. That's emotional strength. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. There's power in stillness, in stepping back, in refusing to chase someone who walked away. Let's be clear, this isn't about punishing her. It's not about manipulating her into missing you. It's about no longer letting her dictate how you live your life post-breakup. Because the longer you stay in the role of the one trying to fix everything, the more you distance yourself from the man you were before you ever met her, the one who had goals, drive, purpose. And right now, your job isn't to get her back. Your job is to get you back. There's a story I heard from a client in his late 30s. He had been with his girlfriend for 4 years. When she left, she said, "I need space to figure out what I want." He panicked. He sent her a playlist of their songs, long messages about how she was his everything. She didn't respond. Weeks passed. Eventually he stopped. Not because he didn't love her anymore, but because he realized he loved himself too little for too long. So he went silent. He got serious about the gym, took that promotion he'd been avoiding, booked a solo trip, rebuilt his world. 3 months later she texted, "I miss you." He read it and didn't respond, not out of spite, but because by that point he realized something she hadn't. He was no longer waiting at the door. That's what no contact gives you. It's not a tactic to get her attention. It's a path back to your own. You're not the same man she left. You're the man who chose peace over panic, dignity over desperation. And that's not weakness. That's power. 2. Flipping the power dynamic through strategic silence. Most men don't see it happening, not right away. When she walked out the door, it wasn't just the end of the relationship. It was the beginning of her control. Not because she's malicious or manipulative, but because the one who walks away always walks away with the upper hand. She knows it. You feel it. And that dynamic doesn't change until you stop reacting. The breakup script is familiar. She expects you to text, to reach out, to try harder, to prove your worth. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. The silence, the regret, the grand gesture. She's seen it before. Most women have. That's why they're emotionally prepared for it. But when it doesn't come, when you don't follow the script, it throws everything off balance. At first she's curious, then surprised, then confused. You've disrupted her emotional rhythm. She's not sure what to make of it. Maybe she checks your Instagram to see if you're hurting. Maybe she asks a mutual friend, "Has he said anything?" But when the silence stretches longer than expected, a seed of doubt begins to grow. That doubt is what flips the dynamic. Because now she's wondering, not just about you, but about herself. Was she wrong? Did she misread your value? Did she walk away from a man who had the strength to let her go? This is where mystery replaces predictability. You're no longer the man pleading for her attention. You're the man who could be healing, rebuilding, even rising without her. And mystery, that's the spark that reignites curiosity and often attraction. You become the mystery and the answer, and she no longer holds the key. That's what silence does. It forces her to sit in the very decision she made. And if there's any part of her that still has feelings for you, that silence is going to make her feel something she didn't expect. Regret. I once spoke with a man named Eric, mid-40s, divorced after a 7-year relationship with a woman he deeply loved. When she left, she expected tears, pleading, endless texts. She got one message from him: "I understand. I won't stand in your way." Then he disappeared. No calls, no updates, just distance. 3 weeks later, she reached out. "Why are you being so cold?" He wasn't. He was healing, and she wasn't prepared for that. That's what happens when you choose strategic silence. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're no longer offering your emotional energy to someone who walked away from it. Instead of obsessing over her, redirect that focus. Go back to the gym, not to post about it, but to rebuild your discipline. Reconnect with a hobby you let go of. Visit friends you haven't seen in months. Not because you want to make her jealous, but because those things make you feel alive again. Because here's the truth: if your presence never disappears, your absence will never be felt. She can't miss you if you're still orbiting her world, if you're still replying to her stories, still liking her posts, still keeping that door cracked open. She won't feel the full weight of losing you. Give her space to feel it. Let her sit in the reality she created. That doesn't mean punishing her. It means respecting yourself enough not to rescue someone from a decision they made. And while she's sitting in silence, wondering what happened to the version of you who used to chase, you're becoming someone far more compelling. A man who chooses dignity over desperation. A man who doesn't fight to be rechosen. A man who reclaims his time, his strength, and his identity. Because silence, when used with purpose, isn't a void, it's a mirror. And one day, when she looks into it, she might not recognize the man she left. Not because you changed for her, but because you finally stopped living for her. 3. When they start to feel the loss, the shift begins. Loss doesn't hit instantly. Not for the one who leaves. When someone ends a relationship, especially if they've been thinking about it for weeks or months, they don't feel the absence right away. What they feel is space, relief, a temporary freedom from emotional responsibility. But that space eventually turns into silence, and that silence over time becomes emptiness. That's when the real loss hits. And for many exes, it's unexpected. She didn't think walking away would change much. Maybe she thought you'd still be around, that if she texted, you'd answer, that if she had second thoughts, you'd still be there, waiting. Most men reinforce this belief by staying available even after being left. They leave the door wide open, and she knows it. But when you don't, when she checks her phone and finds nothing, when a week goes by and there's no just checking in message from you, something begins to shift. What she expected was attention. What she got was absence, and absence has weight. This is when she starts to feel something real, not imagined or convenient, but gut-level loss. Not the kind of loss you can reason through, not the kind of loss you can suppress with distractions. This is the kind of loss that shows up when she's alone with her thoughts, scrolling through old photos, or lying awake at 1 a.m., wondering why you haven't chased her. This is when the illusion breaks. The illusion that she could leave and still have access to you. The illusion that you'd always be available, that she could come back any time if she wanted. That illusion is gone. Because you didn't just say goodbye, you stayed gone. I worked with a man in his early 40s named James. He'd been with his partner for 5 years. When she broke up with him, she said, "I just need time to figure myself out." He nodded, walked her to the door, and never chased. For 2 months, she said nothing. Then one night, he got a message. "I thought I needed space, but now I just feel your absence, and I don't know if I can handle it." That's what we're talking about. That moment when she has to live with what she chose, and it doesn't feel like she imagined. You don't force this moment. You don't rush it. You don't manipulate it. You let it unfold by doing the one thing that's hardest when your heart is broken: staying silent. No bluff, no games, no accidental text to get her attention. Just your calm, intentional withdrawal. Because here's the truth. She can't feel your value if you're still giving it away for free. She can't miss you if you never left. And she can't regret losing you if you're still showing up like she didn't. That's why the shift only happens when you hold your ground. And when she reaches out, there's one thing you must remember. Don't rush back in. It's tempting. Your heart wants relief. Your ego wants validation. But if you make it too easy for her to come back, she'll subconsciously devalue everything she lost. Because if she gets you back without effort, without resistance, it sends a message. Losing you didn't cost anything. And if it didn't cost anything, it won't be cherished. Let her feel your value. Let her earn a conversation. Let her work to rebuild the connection. If she's genuine, she'll understand why you're cautious. If she's not, your boundaries will expose that quickly. You don't have to be cold. You don't have to be cruel. You just have to move slowly, like a man who's protecting his heart, not offering it up to be broken again. This doesn't mean you act aloof or play hard to get. It means you honor what you've been through. It means you ask real questions. Is she coming back because she wants you, or because she misses the comfort of you? Is she returning because she regrets the loss, or because she fears the unknown? And maybe, just maybe, you'll realize that by the time she feels the full weight of losing you, you no longer feel the need to be found. One more thing, stay away from flashy jealousy tactics. Don't post cryptic stories trying to make her jealous. Don't fake a new relationship just to get a reaction. That backfires more than it works, because if she thinks you've moved on too fast, she'll either shut down or justify her decision. And worst of all, you'll look like a man pretending instead of healing. Instead, let your life speak for itself. Let her see that you're moving forward, not because you're trying to hurt her, but because you've chosen yourself. If she still has feelings, that quiet growth will hit harder than any stage photo ever could. Because here's what really makes her feel the loss. It's when she sees that she's no longer the center of your world. When she realizes that someone else might discover the version of you she was too blind or too late to appreciate. And that's when the shift is complete. She doesn't just feel the breakup. She feels the reality that she might not get you back. And in that moment, whether she reaches out or not, something undeniable happens. You stop being the man who was left behind, and you become the man she never expected to lose. 4. When concept meets reality, one of the biggest emotional shifts your ex goes through during no contact happens when the idea of the breakup finally collides with the reality of it. At the beginning, the separation lives mostly in her head. It's a concept, a clean break, a necessary reset, a step toward clarity. In her mind, the story is tidy. She made a mature decision, and you'll probably understand with time. But concepts don't feel. Reality does. The reality hits when she wakes up and doesn't see your message, when her phone stays silent after a long day, when something good happens and she instinctively wants to tell you, but remembers she can't. That's when the weight of her choice becomes more than theory. That's when the breakup stops being something she thought through and starts becoming something she has to live through. And what most people don't expect is how different those two experiences are. It's like planning to move to a new city and imagining the freedom, the excitement, the fresh start. But then the boxes arrive. The apartment is empty. The silence is louder than you expected. That's when the emotion shows up. That's when the consequences take shape. The same is true in breakups. The longer you stay silent, the more her fantasy version of the breakup fades, and the more reality takes its place. Not the idea of losing you, but the experience of it. This is when real regret can surface. This is when she starts to see the difference between the comfort you brought and the silence she chose. It's also the stage where women often make contact, not always to get back together, but to feel something familiar again, to see if you're still there. If you respond too quickly, you pull her right back into comfort. You confirm that the breakup was only temporary, that you were always just a message away. But if you hold the boundary, you allow the full emotional weight of her decision to sink in, and that's what changes people. Not conversations, not logic, but experience. Let her experience the gap. Let her feel the contrast between the man who was always there and the man who now stands quietly, firmly, on his own. Because until the breakup stops being a concept, she'll never truly question it. But once it becomes a reality, one she has to feel, not just think about, that's when her emotional journey begins to shift. The emotional journey your ex goes through during no contact isn't linear. It evolves layer by layer, often in ways that catch both people off guard. And the key word here is evolves, because what she feels in week 1 isn't what she'll feel in week 4 or month 3. That's why your commitment to silence, your refusal to interrupt her emotional process, is more powerful than it seems. It begins with relief, that initial breath of space, the lightness she feels from stepping away, convincing herself she's doing what's best. Maybe she tells herself she just needs clarity or time to figure things out, that it's not about you, it's about her. And maybe that's true. But in that moment, she believes leaving was the right call. She expects you to panic, to pursue, to try harder. And when you don't, confusion starts to creep in. She begins to question what she assumed would be predictable. Why haven't you reached out? Are you hurting as much as she thought? Have you moved on already? Her mind races to fill in the silence you've left behind. The longer the silence holds, the more it disturbs her certainty. That's when confusion turns to uncertainty. She replays old conversations in her mind, wonders if she misjudged you or misjudged herself. The dynamic is no longer in her control, and that uncertainty becomes the foundation of a new emotional stage, loss. But here's the catch. None of this happens if you break no contact. If you reach out, even with a message that seems harmless, you reset her process. You give her the reassurance she expected. And you rob her of the contrast between your presence and your absence, because if she's ever going to miss you for real, she has to live in the reality where you're not available. Let her feel that gap. Let her face the quiet you used to fill, not out of cruelty, but out of respect for yourself and for the process. Every man who's ever made it to the other side of no contact will tell you the same thing. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. They'll tell you that while they stayed silent, something began to shift. Not just in her, but in them. They stopped checking the phone, stopped measuring their worth by her response. They started rebuilding, quietly, steadily. One man shared that after nearly a year of no contact, his ex finally messaged him with something she never said before. "You never chased me, and I think that's what woke me up." She didn't come back right away, but her perception of him changed permanently. And by then, he wasn't waiting anymore. He had built something stronger than a reconciliation. He had built peace. This is what no contact creates. Not just space for them to feel your absence, but space for you to grow beyond needing their approval. Because no contact is not about revenge or tactics. It's not about controlling outcomes. It's about reclaiming your focus, your energy, and your identity. If she's capable of regret, she will feel it. But only if she's allowed to experience life without you fully. Only if you stop giving her comfort she no longer earns. So be patient. Let her process run its course. Let your silence do the speaking. Let your actions say what your words never could. And if she does return one day, Don't let her find the same man she left. Let her find a man who no longer needs her validation, a man who's stronger, more grounded, and at peace, a man who's no longer afraid of being alone because he learned how to stand on his own. Because healing isn't about getting her back, it's about getting yourself back first. And in the end, the man she remembers won't be the one who begged for another chance. It'll be the one who rose and never had to ask. If this message stirred something deep inside you, if it helped you see your situation with more clarity, more strength, or even just a little more peace, then consider subscribing to Stoic Station. I share messages to help you stay grounded, rebuild with purpose, and face life's storms with calm, steady resolve. If you found value here, go ahead and hit that like button. It helps this message reach more men who might need it too. And if something's been weighing on your heart, drop it in the comments below. I read many of them, and when I can, I'll do my best to respond. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me a moment of your day. Stay patient, stay steady, and keep becoming the man you were meant to be.